Peace and love, black family. Good morning to you from Pontiac, Michigan. This is Dr.UmarJohnson, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, International Ifatunde, the one that the ancestors sent to finish the works of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Today is an emergency black parent teleconference. I repeat, today is an emergency black parent teleconference. If you have a question about your child, if you have a concern about your child education or mental health, I will do my best to use my 20 plus years experience in the field of education and psychology to help you help your children. The call-in number for today's emergency black parent teleconference is 857-232-0158. I repeat, 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158. The access code is 870-864-POUND, 870-864-POUND. That is the access code. 857-232-0158, 870-864-POUND. If you want, you can text message your question to 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. You can text message your question. You can even email it. I'll check the emails occasionally. Make sure the subject line on your email says teleconference question or black parent question, so I know that it is relevant to today's call. Before I start taking questions, again, 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158, and the access code is 870-864-POUND, 870-864-POUND. Before I do that, just a couple of updates, and I will be with you in a second. Callers, I am in Pontiac, Michigan for the first time speaking tonight. There is an event here in Pontiac, which is my purpose for being in town, and it is going down tonight at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. I believe the doors open at 6. Live studio audience, live. Dr. Umar will be live in the building, and we're going to discuss not only building generational wealth, but we're going to talk about a host of topics that affect the local American African family and the global Pan-African family. That will be going down at Your Emerging Space. That is the name of the venue, Your Emerging Space, and that is located at 7 North Saginaw Street. I repeat, tonight, 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. And you will also be able to ask Dr. Umar questions live in the studio. And for those of you who join by live feed, you will also be able to have your question asked on tonight's platform. The address is 7 North Saginaw Street, Saginaw. Shout out to all my Detroit family, who's about 45 minutes away. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of my Detroit fam in the building. I haven't been to Detroit since New Year's Day of 2018, so it's been almost 2 years. I've never been away from Detroit that long. Detroit, I will be coming back for sure. Still looking at a school in Detroit as well, but I'm going to keep that on the hush right now. 7 North Saginaw Street tonight from 7 until 10. Live interview with the Prince of Pan-Africanism. If you have questions about tonight's event here in Pontiac, you can call 248-977-1913. Again, if you have any questions about tonight's event here in Pontiac, you can call 248-977-1913. Okay? So that's tonight in Pontiac. Okay, Memphis, Tennessee, October the 5th. Memphis, Tennessee. The Prince of Pan-Africanism will be back in Memphis for the first time since 2015, 4 long years. And I will be at the Martin Luther King Center on Saturday, October the 5th. The Martin Luther King Center in Memphis, Tennessee on Saturday, October the 5th. The event is from 11:30 until 7 p.m. I speak at 5. The event in Memphis is from 11:30 until 7. but I will be speaking at 5 o'clock at the Martin Luther King Center in Memphis on Saturday, October the 5th. If you have more questions about the Memphis event, you can go to 901-453-9352. 901-453-9352, or you can email maneferproject@gmail.com. Manefer, MENNEFER, maneferproject@gmail.com. Also, very important event at the Embassy of Ghana in New York City. The Embassy of Ghana on Tuesday, October the 7th, 2 days after Memphis. We will be in New York City at the Embassy of Ghana, 11 a.m. for a very important unveiling and introduction of a much awaited Pan-African project. Okay. There will be a Asebu village, the Asebu village of Ghana, which is near Cape Coast, Ghana. There will be an Asebu Pan-African Village project that we will be introducing in New York on Tuesday, October the 7th. Okay, the event is at 11. It is free. Seating is limited. You must RSVP. If you're coming to the Embassy of Ghana on Tuesday, October the 7th for the historic announcement and presentation on the Asebu Village Pan-African Project, okay, something that the Prince of Panafrikanism has been waiting for a long time. I'm going to be an integral part of this project. I will be building my own FDMG, Unapologetically African Village, as part of this project. And if you are interested, please RSVP. I'm going to give you 2 phone numbers that you can use to RSVP. Grab your pen real quick. Parents, I'll be with you in 1 second. Please forgive me. Grab your pen real quick. Okay, the phone numbers, you must call one of these 2 phone numbers to RSVP for the Ghanaian Embassy. Phone number 1 is 646-833-6194. 646-833-6194. 646-833-6194. The other number that you can call to RSVP your attendance at the historic West African Repatriation Project announcement will be 347-523-1172. 347-523-1172. 347-523-1172. Black media is invited. For those of you in the black media grassroots networks who are serious about the business of reporting serious Pan-African information, not those of you in the media who chase sensationalism, gossip, slander, we're not inviting you. We're inviting serious grassroots Pan-Africanist media platforms to come out and record it, tape it, audio tape the historic announcement, and share it, because this is going to be a powerful, powerful, powerful event that's going to be going down. All right. And the Ghanaian Embassy is 19 East 47th Street. Actually, it's going to be at the Ghana Mission. The Ghana Mission, 19 East 47th Street is the location. 19 East 47th Street. All right. Rabbi Kohan will be there. Mr. Jerry Ahmed will be there. Professor Samuel, I don't want to mispronounce the names, Amoko, and also the Paramount Chief of the Asebu Village will be there. All right, so it's going to be a very, very powerful, powerful event. And then on Saturday, October the 5th, we will be at the Saturday, October the 12th, we will be at the African Union headquarters in Washington, D.C. for the 2019-2020 African Diaspora Political and Economic Planning Conference. That will be at the African Union headquarters in Washington, D.C. And I do not believe you have to RSVP. But if you want more information for the African Union Conference on Saturday, October the 12th. You can call 800-216-1750. That's 800-216-1750. Or you can email exquisitetrading@AOL.com. For the African Union event in Washington, D.C. at the African Union headquarters, you can email exquisitetrading@AOL, or you can call 800-216-1750. It's serious. Pan-Africanism is serious now. It's been 400 years, and it's time for us to come out of Babylon and return home. It's been 400 years, and it's time for us to come out of Babylon and return home. Tulsa, Oklahoma, November 2nd. Tickets are on sale. Oklahoma City, November 3rd. Tickets are on sale. I want to bring some of the descendants of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. I want to bring you with me to Ghana, because we're going to build a Black Wall Street, West Africa. I said I want to bring my brothers and sisters from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to talk about this in Oklahoma, November 2nd, Greenwood Cultural Center. I want to bring the descendants of Black Wall Street, Oklahoma, with me to West Africa, so we can have some of that ashe of your ancestors, so we can build a Black Wall Street, West Africa. History will be made, and the Prince of Pan-Africanism is leading the way. I'm going to go to the phone now. Again, if you have a question, 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158. Do we have a question to get us started this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Umar. I have a question for you.
Where are you calling from?
Maryland.
Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. I have a question. My question is, my daughter currently is an 11th grader. She has an IEP for with the disability classification of OHI. Over the years of listening to your studies, I've listened to the advice, and I realized that reviewing her IEP, she doesn't really receive any modifications at all. There's no modified content. There's no modified grading curriculum. And I noticed that the only things that she's receiving are extra time, breaks if needed, or pre-prepared notes. And my child has actually been persevering on her own over the years. Some of the things that she was getting, she doesn't really need anymore because she's become self-sufficient, which made me believe that he probably really shouldn't have been classified under as IEP in the first place. But I guess my question is, am I heading into the right direction to diminish it to a 504 plan, considering that's the only accommodation she gets?
What is...
She's stigmatized by the label.
Got you. What is the medical condition or health impairment or psychological diagnosis that allowed her to qualify for special ed? What is the OHI condition?
There is no OHI condition. At first, it was specific learning disability, in which I challenged. And then they had a meeting with me, and they decided to move into OHI behavior.
Okay.
Behavior behavior management, excuse me.
Okay.
But they talked about how it related to organization.
Right.
Not necessarily behavior issues.
Okay. There must be a diagnosis, though. You can't qualify for other health impairment unless you have a diagnosis. So what was it? ADHD? Was it conduct disorder? Was it epilepsy, depression? There must be a diagnosis of some kind, whether it be psychiatric or medical, for you to qualify for other health impairment. Other health impairment cannot be a simple thing like behavior problems. There must be a psychiatric or medical condition. Do we know any outside diagnosis that she had of any kind? That's the only way you can get OHI. There must be an existing condition.
Yes, there is nothing pre-existing that qualifies her. The reason why they changed it is because they felt that if they changed it, there would be some different offerings that she could receive under the IEP versus SLD.
Right, but are you I got you. I want you to be clear though with what I'm saying. If you're telling me that your daughter has an IEP for other health impairment, but she doesn't have a health impairment, then she can't have an IEP. You follow what I'm saying? In other words, what you're telling me is that your daughter has been illegally placed in special education. If you're saying she's in there for other health impairment and she doesn't have a medical or psychiatric diagnosis, then that is illegal.
Yeah, I thought about that actually, and like I said, there was never really any large delay. I got her evaluated in the 4th grade. So for all the other parents listening, I didn't get her evaluated until 4th grade. And
Okay.
Only a delay of maybe a year, and it was only in math. And now that she's an 11th grader, as I said over the years, listening to your advice and really looking into things, which really does work, I've realized that she really hasn't been getting anything. It's like any mock fight. They don't have to change her curriculum in order for her to learn. She's still in gen ed classes. She's not in like an isolated classroom or anything.
Right. Well,
everything is normal.
There's a couple things going on here. There's a couple things. How long since they switched her over to other health impairment? How long?
2 years.
Okay. I have a couple issues. I don't know if you want to write these down. The first one is you have a illegal placement of a child in special education. That's the first thing that's jumping out. You cannot go to special ed unless the problem adversely affects your educational performance. You're telling me that your daughter can learn just fine, that she has no problem that affects her ability to learn. If she has no problem that affects her ability to learn, she cannot be in special education. If she has no problem that affects her ability to learn, she cannot be in special education. That's number one. There can't be an IEP unless there is an AAEP. There cannot be an IEP unless there is an AAEP. AAEP is the acronym for Adverse Effect on Educational Performance. The problem must have an adverse effect on educational performance. You're telling me that your daughter has no problem learning, so there's no adverse effect. So you have an illegal placement of a child in special ed. That's number one. Number two, related to that, the disability classification is other health impairment that requires a medical or psychiatric diagnosis. You're telling me your daughter has no medical or psychiatric diagnosis. If that is the case, there can't be no OHI because you're saying there's no health impairment. If there's no health impairment, how can there be other health impairment? If it doesn't exist, you can't use it. So that's the second problem. The classification is also incorrect and illegal because they labeled her other health impairment without a health impairment. That's number two. Number three, you may have a compensatory education problem, a compensatory education case, because for the past 2 years, your child has been sitting in special ed for other health impairment, without a health impairment, and without a need for special ed. So not only do we have an inaccurate classification, we have an illegal placement, which means that your daughter's school district owes her compensatory education for her being illegally and inaccurately placed in special education for the past 2 years. In other words, they have to pay your daughter for the time she spent languishing in special education for the past 2 years unnecessarily. They have to pay her for that now. So that money will go into a trust fund where you can use it to pay for services that can help your daughter get what she missed being in special ed all that time. Now, I heard you say that she doesn't get any accommodation, she doesn't get any special instruction. You can still qualify for the compensatory education because the truth of the matter is she was still classified as a special ed child. So they're still going to owe her. It might not be as much as they would owe her if she was actually in a special ed class, but there's still some comp ed owed to you there. That's for the 2 years of the OHI that doesn't exist. Now, on top of the OHI that doesn't exist, there's a significant possibility that she was misclassified in the beginning. There's a possibility that in 4th grade, when you had her evaluated and she was classified with the learning disability, from 4th grade until, say, 9th grade, because she's in the 11th now, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for 5 years of the learning disability, which she probably never had in the first place, because if she had it, what happened to it? It's gone. She probably was just delayed and needed a little bit of help or needed a little bit more practice. So I'm saying they probably owe you 7 years of comp ed, 5 for the so-called learning disability, 2 for the so-called health impairment that she don't even have. Now, they might could get away with the fake learning disability, but they definitely can't get away with the fake OHI because there's no diagnosis. So that's cut and dry. You can't even consider OHI without a health diagnosis or psychiatric diagnosis. So what should you do next? Couple ideas. Number one, you need to call an IEP meeting and exit your daughter out of special ed. So that's one. Call an IEP meeting and exit her out of special ed immediately. Number two, at that IEP meeting, discuss your request for comp ed. I believe I'm owed comp ed for the past 7 years of misdiagnosis. That's number two. Okay, get her out of special ed 1, comp ed 2. These are all IEP issues. The third one, if you wanted to, you could say, since you guys, misdiagnosed my child, misclassified her, you could even push for a private school placement at district expense for them subjecting your child to special ed that she never needed in the first place for 7 years. You could push for that, okay, or you could just settle for the comp ed. Another thing you may need to do if they try to argue that she wasn't, the OHI cut and dry. All you have to do is ask them, what health condition that my daughter has that allowed y'all to classify her as a child with a health impairment? So that's real cut and dry. I've never provided you guys with any medical condition, any psychiatric condition. So how did you classify her with an other health impairment? So that's easy to kill. The OHI is easy to kill because you never gave them a health impairment that they could run with in the first place. For the learning disability, that's also an easy kill, but they have a little bit more to stand on with that. They have nothing to stand on with the OHI. One thing you could also do to strengthen your case is you could request an independent educational evaluation, an IEE. Okay, when a parent doesn't agree with the placement or the diagnosis, they can request an independent educational evaluation, the IEE. And I'm saying that you might want to request an IEE because, okay, you don't agree with anything the school has done. OHI should have never happened, so now I don't trust you. Now I'm suspicious that the learning disability should have never happened. I'm certain this should never happen, because if your daughter is in 11th grade and doesn't need any learning support now, then she damn sure never had a learning disability in 4th grade to begin with. So what I want is I want to request of you all, the IEP team, an independent educational eval. Let me go and find a black school psychologist who I trust in this state to evaluate my daughter and tell me what they think. And if they come back and say, your daughter is fine, or maybe she's a little low here, but clearly doesn't need special ed, I see no evidence of a learning disability. Remember, you don't get rid of learning disabilities. You either got them or you don't. So that if that independent eval doesn't turn up any issues, that right there is your strongest weapon for the private school placement, if you want to make them pay for her last 2 years at a private school of your choice. Or if you simply want to seek the comp ed, or both. But having that report from the outside psychologist can be very, very strong towards you showing that nothing was ever wrong with your daughter. You don't have to do the IEE. I think your case is strong enough as it is because your daughter don't need it. And I'm assuming she's been doing well in school?
Yes, sir. Actually, she's been maintaining at least a 2.6 on her own. She's not an A student, but she's been doing it on her own. Right.
3.6 is more than enough proof that there's nothing wrong with your daughter. 2.6. So you said a 2.6.
Yes, sir.
Okay. To me, it sounds like she's okay. And I think you have enough evidence without the IEE to push for either the private school or the comp ed. We're definitely removing her from special ed. That goes without saying. We're definitely removing her from special ed. It's just a matter of whether you want to go for the comp ed, the private school, or both. definitely get her out of special ed, and then consider whether you want the independent eval, which I think could be an extra weapon to prove your case. In fact, if you decide to go with the independent educational eval, I would do that first and mention nothing else. I would just say I would like to get an independent educational evaluation because I don't think my daughter needs special ed. She's had an IEP since the 4th grade. I'm really questioning whether this was ever necessary, and I want an independent educational eval. And if they say, well, why you don't want one of our psychologists to test her? And then you might have to drop a little bit of the bag right there and just say, well, you know, my daughter is in special ed for OHI. She has a health IEP for OHI, but I never provided you guys with a medical condition. No diagnosis of all at all. So how could y'all possibly give her an IEP for a condition she don't even have? She doesn't have any health impairments. So how can she be in special ed for health impairments? So I want an independent educational eval just to see what my daughter is because, you know, I have significant concerns about the way in which you guys have placed my child in special ed. So those would be the things
I definitely appreciate your advice, and I think I will go with the IE and some of the things that you've mentioned. I've already requested a meeting to do an exit, and my daughter has also been exposed to some of the information that you've been teaching, and she's actually learning herself how to conduct herself in special education meetings. I just want to say that out loud to all the listeners. My daughter is actually looking at a lot of information about the different health impairments, and I did actually fight recently to get the behavioral management removed because it didn't match anything, it didn't have any proof. So now it just says OHI, math learning, math academic issues. So I really appreciate that. I think I'm going to go with the IE. I'll look further into it. I am on the research, so I thank you for your time and all your expertise. And my daughter, actually, you know, if she were here, she would probably say thank you too, because she's been actually conducting and going into meetings and talking based on what she knows. And she's stigmatized, so I definitely want to do as best as I can. She feels like she can't do anything because she has an IEP, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And one other thing, Queen, have her attend the meetings as well. Federal special ed law says that a child can participate in their own IEP meetings when it is necessary, and they must be invited as soon as the IEP team starts discussing their transition planning. And basically, transition planning speaks to the IEP team's responsibility to begin to prepare that child for their exit from high school. So whether that's college, whether that's trade school, whether that's work, whether that's independent living, the IEP team has a responsibility to start to prepare that child for that transition. And, you know, with her being in 11th grade, transition planning should have already started anyway, which I'm sure it didn't because it never does for black kids. But nonetheless, at 11th grade, you should definitely be participating in speaking up, you know, for yourself with your parent at the IEP meeting. So, you know, you should have her there. And it would be very powerful for her to be there and to say, I don't need special ed, and I never thought I needed it anyway, you know. But so just consider having her participate, but make sure you discuss some of the things that may come up in that meeting so that both of you are on the same page.
Yes, sir. She's been attending her meetings since 10th grade. She's actually already looking at some of the transitional services, and even if she does continue with her 504, she's still going to look at the services to see if there's anything beneficial out of it. But yes, she has, and we've always read her IEPs to her, and we discussed things at that time. And she's getting quick, and I just want to thank you for that. You know, just all your knowledge, because of you, and also us exposing her, she has been able to speak for herself and actually advocate for herself and say things that she feels she needs and doesn't need.
Powerful.
So I appreciate that.
Appreciate you, Queen. Good luck, and keep me posted.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Before I take the next call, let me just also remind everybody that I'm currently working on a group trip to Jamaica, a educational, Pan-African, cultural group trip to the island of Jamaica. It will be a 2-week trip where we will basically explore the entire island of Jamaica, the food, the culture, the plants, the water, the beaches. Marcus Garvey, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Rastafari, Nanny of the Maroons, Paul Bogle, Samuel Sharp, the slave revolts, It is going to be a powerful, powerful trip to Jamaica. I should have the prices soon. You will be able to start registering for it very soon. And we still plan to do a second Africa trip as well. With that being said, do we have another question on the line this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Umar.
Good morning. Where are you calling from, Goddess?
I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, hot Atlanta. Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. So I have a 3-year-old. He's about to be 4 at the end of the month. So I have him at Head Start currently. Now, he's very, very smart. He knows the basic colors, the animals. Knows how to spell his name, knows how to count to 20. Anything you pretty much teach him, he catches on really quick. He's watching Dory and he knows different, like Dory's a clownfish. Nemo's a clownfish and Dory's a blue tang. Like, he's really, really smart. The thing is, he repeats himself a lot. So if he gets excited and he sees a truck or an excavator, he's going to keep repeating excavator, excavator, excavator. So I guess my question is, and also his speech isn't very, he doesn't speak very well. So he's kind of 2 to 3 words with his conversation. So I guess my question is, do I just keep doing what I'm doing and keep teaching him things? Of course I do that, but do I need to reach out to someone and maybe try his speech first, or do I need to get him, evaluated? I just don't want someone to just quickly label him just because I know him so well and I know he's capable of learning. But I just don't want somebody to sit down with him for 15 minutes and say he's ADHD or has autism.
Okay. Before I answer that, let me give them the call-in number again because a couple folks are asking for it. It is 857-232-0158. The call-in number, if you have a question about your child, is 857-232-0158. And the access code is 870-864-POUND, 870-864-POUND. Y'all should know this number by heart. It hasn't changed. I've been doing this call for at least 5 years now, so you guys should know the number by heart. With that being said, if you feel that your son has a speech or language delay, I see no problem with you contacting the local school district and letting them know that your child needs an early intervention evaluation for speech. An early intervention evaluation for speech. Now, it does fall under the umbrella of special education because special education begins at age 3 and it goes to age 21. It does fall under special ed. However, the reason I don't have a problem with it is because if your son needs that help now, I'd rather he get the help now so we can close the gap so that in the future, by the time he begins kindergarten 2 years from now, that gap will no longer exist. It will be so small that he might not need special education once he begins regular public school. So we want to fix the problem before kindergarten so there's no need for special education in kindergarten, if that makes sense to you. Now, if he gets the speech IEP for early intervention, which basically means they will come to his daycare or they will have you put him in a special daycare to get that help. If he gets that now, okay, when it's time for him to go to kindergarten, when it's time for him to go to kindergarten, you can tell them, make sure you let the school know, I do not want my son beginning kindergarten in special education. I do not want an IEP. That was just a service that I wanted in preschool. I do not consent, because you're going to have to sign papers for him to go to special ed in regular school, in kindergarten. And normally what they do is when it's almost time for the preschool kids to go to kindergarten, if you have a preschool IEP, early intervention IEP, 3 to 5 year old IEP, when it's time for you to go to kindergarten, the school district will have a psychologist reevaluate your child. The school district will have a psychologist reevaluate your child and determine whether or not he will continue to need special ed or speech therapy once he goes to kindergarten. You see, so you can stop. You can, please mute your phones, family. Please mute your phones. You can stop the special ed service whenever you want to. So you can take it all the way up to kindergarten and then just kill it. Some parents are of the opinion that if they get early intervention in preschool, they have to get it in grade school. No, you do not have to get special ed in grade school because you had it in preschool. As the parent, you can stop it. So if I was you, I would go ahead and get them tested. Make sure, though, make sure when you get him evaluated, when you go to the school district, somebody's going to contact you. There's an early intervention service provider that probably has the contract with your school district, okay, to do all the testing for the early intervention kids. They're going to give you a permission to evaluate form. They're going to give you a permission to evaluate form. When they give you that, make sure when you sign your name, write speech only and underline it. There won't be a line for this. The line will only be for your name and the date. But I want you to write speech only. Make it large. Just write it anywhere so everybody can see. The reason you want to do that is because they love to hustle our kids and they love to misdiagnose our kids with things they don't have. So you want to make it clear to them that the only evaluation that you are consenting to, the only evaluation that you are consenting to is for speech and language. You are not consenting. You're not looking for autism. You're not looking for intellectual disability. You're not looking for emotional disturbance. You're not looking for reading disability. You ain't looking for nothing but speech. That's why you want to write speech only, because if you don't write speech only, those people will come back telling you your son got this problem and that problem and this problem. And you like, wait a minute. I didn't ask for none of that because my son ain't got no other problems. So make sure you write, and this is for everybody listening, always write speech only to make sure they know the only person your child needs to see is the speech therapist. He don't need to see the psychologist. The psychologist does not have to participate in a speech and language evaluation. Did you have a follow-up?
Just one more question.
Go ahead.
Basically, too, I'm concerned about him repeating everything. What do you think the many problems? Because a lot of people were saying it might be autism. But like
Give me an example. Give me an example when you say repeat everything.
Okay, he'll see an excavator. Like I said, he knows what it is, but he'll say, "Mommy, an excavator, an excavator, an excavator."
Okay.
I say an excavator.
Okay.
Like he wants you to say it back, I guess, sometimes. But sometimes once you say it, he'll keep going with it.
Autistic.
Like color, he'll say, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Queen. I cut you off. My apology.
Like he'll say, like the other day, he kept repeating red, 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 red. But I said, let's spell it. And I sounded out for him, and he spelled it. You know, so that's why I know that there's nothing wrong with him learning. It's something else, and I can't put my finger on it.
Let me ask you.
Maybe it's the speech. Go ahead.
Autistic children do engage in repetitive behavior. That is a repetitive behavior, but that is a low quality repetitive behavior for me. That right there, does he do hand flapping and snapping and blinking, and does he make weird sounds?
Well, if he gets excited, he'll kind of ball his fists up and it's kind of weird, squeeze his butt kind of tight, like he's, like he gets really, but it's only like when he gets really excited, he'll do something like that, and that kind of
Okay. Because I repeat myself when I talk. I say things 2 and 3 times, but I'm not autistic. But here's my question. How does he have any fixations with anything? Does he need to wear the same socks every day, or can't leave the house without a certain toy, or watches the same thing all the time, or must drink from the same cup? Or does he have any fixations on any type of food or toy or clothing item or anything like that?
Well, his fire truck, he likes to leave the house with his fire truck, but not all the time. So most times people tell me like he loves that fire truck, but it's not
Most important question. Most important question. If you take your son to the daycare, preschool, camp, or just the park, neighborhood park, and there are 5 to 10 other 3-year-olds there. He don't know them. They're strangers. They're just regular kids. You know, will he go over and initiate play with them, or will he stay to himself? Does he have social skills with other kids?
They're not great because he'll say hi kids or hi guys, but other than that, he won't unless they try to, you know, he'll say hey, but not really. He won't just run over there and start playing.
Okay, but does he ever? Okay, if the kids invite him over to play, will he go and play? If the children say, come play with us, will he come play with them? Yeah.
That
don't sound like autism now.
Yeah, he's good.
Because autism is communication, verbal, nonverbal. You know, if they invite him to play and he'll go play, that ain't sounding like autism to me. Here's the thing about autism. It doesn't have a cure. Not yet. Not that we know of. And because it doesn't have a cure, you cannot reverse it. There's no need to rush it. It's not like the cancer or the flu. The sooner you find it, the sooner you can do something about it. Autism is there, whether you find it at 3 or 13. So my advice to parents who suspect autism is to be patient. Because if it is autism, and it doesn't sound like it to me, but if it is autism, it ain't going to make a difference if you diagnose it now or when he's 6 years old, if that makes sense to you. So I would take my time. I would take my time. Be patient. And when you're sure, then you can have him diagnosed. It doesn't benefit your son at all to have him evaluated for a condition that you as the parent are not sure he has in the first place. Remember, there is no test for autism. There is no test for ADHD. There's no test for this. So the psychologist is going to make a determination based on what he sees. And he's going to see your child a whole lot less than you have seen your child. You live with him. You birthed him. You raised him. That psychologist will be in the room with your child for an hour, if that long, and will make a determination based on what they've seen in less than an hour. So my point is this. When it comes to disorders that must be diagnosed with the eye, it's the eye test. You use the eye test for autism. You use the eye test for ADHD. When it comes to the eye test, are the doctor's eyes any better than yours? No, they're not. And since the doctor's eyes are no better than your eyes, I want you to rely on your eyes before you rely on the doctor's eyes. In other words, it must look like autism to you before you go asking somebody else who don't know your child.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem, Queen. No problem. Good luck with that.
Yes, sir. You have a good day.
You do the same. You do the same. Before I take the next question on the call, Shamoya, you don't know the number? I'm ashamed at you. 857-232-0158, and the access code is 870-864-pound. 870. Oh, you on Shamoya? Okay, Queen.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm well. How you been?
Very well, thank you.
Go right ahead with your question, love.
So I have a situation with my daughter. I think I kind of talked to you about it before, but
well, great.
She's in the 2nd grade now. So, and it's a situation that's appropriate for this call, and you let me know. Okay. My daughter is she got kicked out of 1st grade, and she was in a private school. She was going to Marcus Garvey Elementary School in Los Angeles, the same school that your other daughter goes to.
Okay. Is Marcus Garvey still independent?
I do believe.
Okay, they're not charter, correct?
Yes, it's a private school.
Okay, go right ahead.
No, it's not a charter. It is a private school.
Good. Glad to hear that. Go right ahead.
Yes. So because of her behavior, though, her misbehavior and the things that would come out of her mouth, she ended up, getting kicked out.
Out the Garvey school.
So,
private school. Yes.
Okay. So she's at the Garvey school now?
No, she's not. She hasn't. I want to get her. I'm trying to get her back in.
Okay. When was she in the Garvey school? When was she there?
Say that again?
When was she in the Garvey? I'm trying to get the chronology. When was she in the Garvey school? When did she go to the private?
Last year for first grade. Her first semester, last September, she was in first grade.
Okay.
And I think she got kicked out within. She started going in the summer.
Got kicked out of where? The Garvey school or the private school?
The Garvey school is the private school.
Okay, so that's one and the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So she got put out the Garvey school.
Yes, in first grade last year. Yes.
For doing what?
For saying things that she got upset with a proctor on the playground, and I understand why she got upset, but she just over the top with her anger. But she said something that I would have kicked her out too, to be honest with you.
What did she say?
Yeah. She got mad and because it was time for playtime to be over. She didn't want it to be over, and one of the bigger kids, it was their time to be on the playground. So they snatched the jump rope from her, and when the proctor got involved, to mediate, the proctor got porked out on the big kid's side because it was their turn to play. But the girl shouldn't have snatched something from my daughter. She don't play. So my daughter went off on her and on the proctor.
What did that princess say?
I'm gonna shoot the school up.
Okay. She said she was going to shoot the school up, and they put her out.
Yeah, because that was around the time. That was it.
Okay.
That was it. But that was around the time when all that stuff was going on. When all these.
I got you.
It's still going on, but.
I got you.
They were doing a march. They were doing a march, and she was at a friend of mine's house whose daughter's in high school and is in charge of a club in high school, and they were preparing for the march for, all the big student march that was going on.
Right.
And she was there, and so she was hearing, they're getting ready for the march because of, the school spreading, the school shooting, all that. So that's how she found out about, that whole idea of shooting the school up. Because they were preparing for the march, and she was there with some friends of mine that are in high school.
Okay.
That, their kids are in high school.
Okay.
And she was around there. And that's where she got the concept from. Because she don't watch TV, I don't let her. But so that's what she said when she got angry, and I was so appalled to hear that from her. But when I did the math and figured out where she got that idea from, it made sense. But still, she's young, so she didn't know that that's not appropriate to be saying in school or anywhere. So, needless to say, they kicked her out, and so she's been at another. I had to put her in private school for a while because it was just too much because I started homeschooling at first, but I needed to go back to work. So,
where did she go? Where did she go after that? Okay, they put her out. Where did she go after that?
She went to private school. I started homeschooling.
Okay, so she's being homeschooled now?
For the rest of that semester. So now she's in public school.
Okay, now she's in public school for what grade? Second?
Second grade. So the second half of first grade, which was earlier this in January, I put her in public school. So
okay.
Go back to work.
Okay, so now she's in public school. Okay. Okay, and she's second grade now, right?
Yes.
Okay. What, are they having problems with her now?
They are behavioral.
What is she doing now?
She just doesn't want to follow directions. She does not want to follow directions.
Okay. Is your daughter spoiled?
Yeah, they say she is.
No. I'm asking you. I don't care what they say. Did you spoil your daughter? Is she spoiled because? Is she spoiled?
I don't think so. But I'm on the inside. I'm on the inside. I don't think she's spoiled. I discipline her a lot. I make her work for things that she gets, and that's the stuff, such as food and clothes and stuff like that.
So,
as far as I don't let her watch TV. Only maybe once a week on the weekend, I let her watch TV. And that's only like, it's not TV, it's a DVD that I approve of her to watch. But she doesn't watch TV.
What are the consequences though? When she got put out the other school for saying she was going to shoot the school up, what were the consequences? What was the punishment that you gave?
I told her she couldn't ride her bike. I told her she don't want to watch TV too much, but the little bit of TV I let her watch, didn't let her watch that. I made her do a lot of like extra work, school work and whatnot. Like I made up stuff, like I made her helped her do some flashcards or multiplication and stuff like that. I made her do other stuff.
Okay. I think we got to look at you.
She likes reading, so that wasn't no punishment. But I had her reading more, and she don't. It's hard to discipline somebody when I'm already. It's hard to discipline her because I don't let her do a lot anyway. So whatever little bit I do let her do, I pull back on that.
Okay. Here's the other thing. We got to look at the function of her behavior. She's a second grader, so I'm 99% sure she's doing all this for attention, which leads to the question of whether or not she's getting enough attention from you and or dad. And it sounds like she's frustrated. I think a lot of this is spoiled. I think she's spoiled, one. Number two, I don't think you're consistent enough with the discipline, and I don't know if the consequences that you do use are effective. But number three, it goes all to the function. The reason that she's doing this in the first place, it sounds like she's frustrated with something. How much time does she get to spend with you outside of school? One-on-one, face-to-face, mommy-daughter time, focus time.
I would say a lot. As soon as she gets out of school, normally I'm there all day.
Where's biological dad?
He is not in the picture. And when you said that, it struck a bell. So he's not really in the picture.
Does she know who her dad is?
Yes, she does.
When's the last time she saw him physically with her eyes?
About 3 or 4 years.
It's been about 4 years. And she's how old?
She's 7.
She's 7. I have a strong suspicion that there's some frustration there because she hasn't seen her father in 4 years. I think that's a big piece of this, and she's seeing the other children with their fathers. There's probably activities in the classroom that evolve around mommy, daddy type stuff. I think that's a piece of it. But I also think we got to look at your discipline, because here's the thing. You got to get this in order, because we don't want it to become part of her personality. Because once she gets to 4th grade and she's doing this, the first thing they're going to say is emotionally disturbed and conduct disorder and medication. And we don't want that. So you're going to have to snap down on them consequences. The next time she doesn't do something she's supposed to do, there must be a consequence that day. So whether that's early bed, see, for children, young children like that, you starve them of attention, and I suspect that you're not starving her of your attention, because you guys are the only two in the home, correct?
Correct.
Exactly. When the child and the parent are the only two in the home, the child also becomes the parent's source of communication too. So, you're going to have to cut yourself off from her as much as you cut her off from you. If my 2-year-old, she doing things she ain't supposed to do. She's doing early bed. She's coming home. She's doing homework. She's going to dinner. And I'm putting her in the bed early. I want her to suffer. She ain't got no toys, no TV. She has absolutely nothing in that room. You got to strip that room of everything. Nothing is in there that she can even begin to play. She can't make toy planes out of paper. Nothing. Boredom and lack of attention kills young children. You must bore them to death, and you must starve them of attention. I suspect your daughter is not being starved of your attention, and she's not being bored at home. She's still having fun, because behavior changes when the consequence becomes intolerable. You haven't given your daughter any intolerable consequences. That's why her behavior hasn't changed. The minute you make her do something, or stop her from doing something that she absolutely needs to do, like be around you after school, then you will start to see the behavior change. You're going to have to starve her of you. She's going to have time out in her room, early bed. You got to take away all the stuff that she loves, because here's the thing. You might be taking away one thing, but she can still compensate with another thing. That's how that works. It's like telling a kid they can't go outside, but they still got video games in the house. You take the video games, but they still got Instagram and Facebook. You take Instagram and Facebook, but they can still laugh and joke with their brother or sister. You have to make sure there's no compensatory activities available to her when you give her a consequence, because you have to do this, because she's been doing this for a while, and I'm concerned that this is starting to become her personality because you have allowed it. So you got to get in there and you got to crush this. Now, you also want to give her some rewards too. So when she has a good week, you might tell her 3 good days out of 5 at school. That's a good week. Then you and her will do something fun on the weekend. Make her earn that mommy-daughter time. Okay. So you basically want to have what I call double motivation. You want to have a plan of punishment that she knows beforehand. She knows what's going to happen. And so she's motivated not to get in trouble. But then you also want a reward plan. So she knows that if she does well, this is waiting for you at the end of the week. If you do well, this is waiting for you at the end of the week. If you don't do well, this is waiting for you as soon as you get home. In other words, you give consequences every day. Consequences don't wait till the end of the week. Consequences are every day. Rewards wait till the end of the week. Okay, but you got to crack down on her, and then you also want to see if Dad can spend some time with her, because I think she missing that masculine energy, that balance.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. That all makes so much sense. Thank you.
No problem, Queen. No problem.
And I wish you well. I'll probably talk to you.
You still in L.A., Shamoy?
I still am.
Okay. I'm still trying to find a spot. I don't know if you got any connections. You got any connections in Oakland, San Fran, or Sacramento?
I got people out there, but I haven't reached out to them in a while, so I can revisit them.
Please revisit that for me. I really need a venue in Oakland. I'm not having any luck finding a 300 to 400 seater in Oakland.
Okay.
All right, Queen.
I definitely will.
Keep me posted.
Have a good.
All right now. No problem. All right. Let me say this before I take the next call. As it relates to zero tolerance, I am not a fan of zero